Wait, there you go.
Thank you for coming to my persuasive speech. During the trials and tribulations of one's life, the pain one may undergo sometimes arrives at a point where it becomes too much. At this end, unfortunately, a person may decide to take their own life. In many cases, these people may turn to others to assist them in taking their lives. This phenomenon is known as assisted suicide and is currently illegal in all states except Oregon. A famous case of assisted suicides involved Dr. Jack Kevorkian, who assisted in the deaths of 130 people. There are many people who believe that individuals possess the right to decide when they should end their life. Therefore, a case can be made for the legality of a doctor or physician ending one's life at the request of a patient. These circumstances typically arise when patients are terminally ill and feel that a voluntary and painless death is more appealing than a slow and agonizing one. Suicide, however, should rarely be the answer. Think about how it will not only affect you, but those who love you as well. Altogether, assisted suicide is wrong, both for the patients and the ones who assist them. Many argue that suicide should not be frowned upon when it occurs to cope with medical situations that are overwhelming to the patient. However, this is ironically not the case with many assisted suicides in Oregon. Rather than committing suicide for the reason of overwhelming pain due to a terminal condition, 92% of all individuals who sought assistance from a physician did it because of decreasing ability to participate in activities that made life enjoyable. In other words, they took their lives because they were no longer happy and saw death as an easy way out. This makes it no better than committing suicide without prescription and appears to take advantage of the Death with Dignity Act, which allows some terminally ill patients to seek assistance. While there is only one state in the U.S. currently permitting the act of assisted suicide, there are still many countries throughout the world with no law prohibiting it. In fact, currently in Switzerland, there is a group named Dignitas that aids foreigners who want to commit assisted suicide and yet currently reside in a country where assisted suicide remains banned. However, they will not admit just anyone who wishes to die. The patients must be terminally ill, severely mentally ill, or depressed beyond medical repair to be allowed to receive assistance. With an organization in place that appears structured and is only there for the benefit of its patients, the concept of assisted suicide is becoming legitimized. Aside from the seemingly unjustified motives for suicide, the number of patients receiving assistance has only risen since 1997, when the Death with Dignity Act was put in place. Up to the year 2008, the average number of deaths was around 40. However, that number jumped to 60 in 2008 and remained at 59 the following year. The rising number can reasonably be due to the fact that assisted suicide is legal, making it seem alright in the minds of citizens. As long as it remains legal, these numbers will only continue to rise and not necessarily for the better. Doctors are meant to heal people, lest we forget. According to the Hippocratic Oath, the first rule doctors must adhere to is do no harm. Clearly, assisting suicide is one of the biggest breaches of this rule that a doctor can commit. Since death is the furthest extent of physical loss one possesses, those who support assisted suicide argue that if doctors were to literally follow the Hippocratic Oath, would make surgeries not be performed since they require a doctor to perform harm to the person who is seeking assistance. Yes, the person is temporarily harmed by this operation, however, they are ultimately helped by the surgery, making it more of an aid to the patient than a harm. Also, I believe the oath is put in place with the patient in mind, and using common sense indicates that the oath was put in place with the intent that doctors are not supposed to intentionally harm the patient, unless the harm would ultimately lead to benefiting the patient. Once doctors begin to allow themselves to harm patients, a reputation may come about that no longer presents the profession in high esteem. There was a very famous case back in the 1990s concerning Dr. Jack Kevorkian, aka Dr. Death, who was responsible for over 130 deaths, assisted by his homemade suicide machine. While he claims he was trying to help them, the way he went about it was wrong and illegal. Kevorkian was not properly licensed and carried out suicide, and was not even a doctor in Oregon. At one point, Kevorkian even lethally injected a patient who was suffering Lou Gehrig's disease, thus moving beyond assisted suicide to euthanasia. This horrifying procedure was displayed on national television, showing Kevorkian's gross thirst for publicity. Recently, after being released from prison after 9 years, he faced much criticism from those fighting for assisted suicide to be legalized, and disappointed in the bad publicity he brought to their cause. His time in jail had little effect on his high ego, and he responded with, "I did it right. I didn't care what they did or didn't do. When I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. Whether these supporters like it or not, Kevorkian's actions reflect the entire movement in a negative light and make it hard for those opposing to believe that this practice can be done correctly and humanely. Moreover, these decisions can be prematurely made, just like with any operations or procedure, doctors can make mistakes. If a doctor were to incorrectly diagnose a patient with a broken ankle, they would only suffer problems with their foot. However, if they were to incorrectly diagnose somebody's terminal illness and they acted on that diagnosis, the patient could be prematurely ending their life for nothing. A decision like this is too major to be careless with, and even with correct medical help, is risky. Although the United States allows people to choose their own religion, and rightly so, it is easy to see that since we are a predominantly Christian nation, and whether or not our motives are religious driven or not, the beliefs of the masses cannot be ignored. Not only Christianity, but many other religions as well forbid the practice of suicide, which includes assisted suicide. Many people believe that no matter what your circumstances are, life is a divine gift given to you by God, and that you should not determine when it ends, but instead leave it up to Him. These people believe that the sanctity of life should not be abused by a professional's ability to take someone's life at their request. Life is precious, and it's the most valuable thing that you can ever possess, and we should treat it as such. No matter what your religion or beliefs are, ending your life prematurely is a slap in the face to whoever gave you your life. Helping somebody with taking their life is no better. Allowing others to assist in suicide is a crime and should not become acceptable. Yes, a very small percentage of people could justifiably benefit from a physician-assisted suicide, but only a very small percentage. Until that percentage increases, there is no reason for practice to continue. Good.
Good.